Cosmic Warriors, and welcome back to another video. So in today's video we are going to be taking a look at the Venus Retrograde Transit. We're going to be talking all about it today. But before we do get started, I just want to mention that I've already made a video talking about and explaining the Venus retrograde within the natal birth chart. So I will link it somewhere so you can check that video out if you would like. But before we do get started with today's video, make sure that you give this video a like if you like it. Also make sure to subscribe if you have not already, and click that little bell icon in order to keep yourself updated with further content from myself. So with all that being said, then let's do this. Now, the first thing to keep in mind when it comes to the Venus retrograde when it's in transit is that it's quite different to the Venus retrograde natally, because when Venus is retrograde during a transit, it's doing so for those already on Earth at the time. Though still, of course, it's good to look at the house that Venus is transiting within your personal chart as well. So keep that in mind, because the house will show you where it's really playing out. But what is essentially happening with the Venus retrograde is that it signifies a period of reflection, a period of reassessment, a period of re-examination. A lot of words come with the retrogrades, and Venus goes retrograde around every 18 months or so. And if you are watching this before May 13th 2020, it's going to be retrograde within the sign of Gemini from May 13th 2020 until around about the end of June. So with that all kind of being said, what are some things to reflect upon or reassess during a Venus retrograde? Firstly, let's address the money and the material side of Venus. Well, the Venus retrograde is a good time to reassess and go over your finances. So looking at how you budget, how you save, how you spend your money, for example. Are you quite level-headed when it comes to these things, when it comes to your finances, or can you be kind of irresponsible? Quick side note, however, if we were to connect this in with the Venus retrograde in Gemini that I just mentioned, perhaps this is a crucial time to really be reassessing our finances with this pandemic going on. So looking at how we really do think about our money and how we can maybe change how we view money and how we spend our money, etc. Or perhaps it's more about getting us mentally prepared for the changes that are about to come in association with money and the economy and so on. Though, of course, I do not want to divert too much away from Venus retrograde overall as a whole. But what I will say is that the Venus retrograde may be a good time to reflect on what you own. So what belongs to you? Is it maybe that you have too much of something? Or is it maybe that you hoard things? On the other hand, is it that you don't have enough of something, like the necessities to keep you and your loved ones surviving? But following on from this point, perhaps this could be you reflecting upon how well off you actually are in comparison to others around the world. And so in this respect, perhaps the Venus retrograde is actually a good time for us to really look into and re-examine how good we have it, as well as how good we don't have it. The outcome perhaps being based on your current financial position, as well as whatever physical security circumstances you find yourself in. Another thing to consider during a Venus retrograde are your skills or your talents. So what are you good at and what are you interested in? Are you maybe interested in the likes of fashion or art, design, beauty, photography, reading books? Or are you interested in cooking or trying out different hairstyles or jewelry, gardening, sewing, pottery, So maybe you can start to use the Venus retrograde as a time to reflect on your interests along with your skills and your talents as to whether or not perhaps you still wish to take part in them, or maybe you can ponder over how to get better and improve on them. Or perhaps you could even look at how you're approaching these things. Is it that you want to change how you approach them? Is it that maybe you want to polish something up differently? Or maybe you just simply wish to refine your skills that you currently possess. And if it is that you seek to become really, really good at a new skill, perhaps the Venus retrograde is a brilliant time to go over that. So with that being said, perhaps you could try drawing up some plans, for example, or you could study the new skill that you want to try out or pursue in order to become really well informed and up to speed. And looking at talents specifically, is there maybe a particular talent that you have, that you possess, but actually you hide and you don't let on that you have? Or is it that maybe you see yourself as talented at something, but you put yourself down as soon as somebody else expresses their opinion about it? Though essentially, the Venus retrograde may be a really good time to practice your skills and your talents, or perhaps you can even contemplate over your desire to show the world your talents as well. Though speaking of desire, perhaps the Venus retrograde is a period of reassessing your desires, along with what you find pleasure and comfort in doing. So is it that you maybe desire to purchase a new expensive watch that you've had your eyes on for ages, but you gotta be realistic with the consequences that follow from investing in such a product? Or is it that you have your heart set on a desirable partner, someone who you would like to pursue, but you're just not sure of how to make the first move? Not to mention the 1 million questions that you have going on in your head over whether or not they like you back. And when it does come to pleasure specifically, perhaps this is a time to reassess your eating habits, your sex habits, your shopping habits, and any habits really that you deem to be pleasurable, where you get this feeling of happy satisfaction and enjoyment. So is it that you can maybe be a little bit hedonistic and self-indulgent? Or can you be the opposite of that, where you're very rigid and strict and you're tight arse, incapable of seeking pleasurable experiences for what they are? Do you treat yourself enough? Or do you treat yourself a little bit too much? Do you practice self-care, or do you constantly work yourself to the bone? Also, do you relax enough where you're able to switch off and just kick back? Or maybe you're someone like me who finds it really, really hard to relax. And when it comes to the whole comfort specifically, well, there's a question here too of how often do you feel at ease? How often are you just content with what you have and where you are in life? And who are the people in your life that help you feel at ease? Or do you maybe feel as if you can't really connect or relate well enough with the people that exist within your life? Furthermore, maybe there are certain items and materials that you possess that make you feel comfortable, or perhaps there are certain items and materials that you have that you need to let go of because they are no longer serving you. And this is where we kind of lead into the relationship side of Venus here, because the same could be said about your relationships. So during this Venus retrograde transit, perhaps it's also a good time to reassess and re-examine the substance or the value of your one-on-one relationships. So looking at your romantic relationships, your marriages, your friendships, your business partnerships, your work relationships, as well as the relationship that you have with yourself. For example, do you hang out with fake, phony friends that don't make you feel very good, or they don't put in as much effort as you put in? Or is there something to be said about things needing to change. Maybe you and your partner need to work on your communication skills better together, or maybe there needs to be a little bit more give and take within your relationships. And when it comes to the relationship that you have with yourself, are you kind towards yourself? Are you accepting towards yourself? Or is there something that you would like to work on, such as, just examples here, jealousy issues, self-hatred, shame, guilt, regret. Perhaps you'd even like to feel more comfortable in your own skin, or perhaps you recognize just how much you internalize times whenever you've made a mistake, instead of appreciating that you're only human, a human who is flawed like everybody else, and that's okay. Ultimately, this is a period of time whereby which you start to reassess all of these different relationship styles, where you take the time, you really do take the time to let all of these things just sit with you, so that you can kind of ponder over and contemplate over what's working and what maybe needs to change. And by doing so, you might discover some or many new things about yourself. So for example, perhaps you discover that you deserve better in a relationship, or perhaps you find out that you're funnier or nicer than you thought, or maybe you come to the realization that family is the most important thing over money and materials and so on, or that you have what it takes to overcome negative self-talk. Same goes for your style or your fashion sense, where maybe you start to rethink new styles and you start to try out new styles of how you appear. Next thing you know, you're walking out of the retrograde with a fresh new look. Similarly, maybe you become more aware of your love language, and so you start to reassess how you show love, as well as how you would like to receive love. And by doing so, you might be able to build on your relationships for the better, where you make them much more exciting. It gives this whole fresh new look to them, or this new feeling to them rather. Can even possibly result in your sex life being enhanced, being improved in some way. Or perhaps you could use this time to re-examine your online presence, such as the design or the layout of your social media platforms, or the pages that you have on social media. Or maybe it's about re-examining the relationship that you have with your audience, if you do happen to have the likes of a YouTube channel, for example. Same goes for clothing, so looking at your wardrobes and your drawers, along with your makeup and your jewelry collections, and how you sort of organize all that and arrange it. Basically, it's a great time to rearrange and reorganize all the Venetian themed matters, both in a material sense and also in a relationship sense. And furthermore, kind of similar to the Mercury retrograde, it's good to think over contracts and agreements that you've made as well during this time. So for example, do you maybe have far too many subscriptions? I mean, is it that you have Netflix but you haven't watched Netflix in weeks or months? I mean, why do you still have it then? Also, your phone contract, is it going to end? Do you need to renew it? Is it too expensive for you? Do you need to change your plan to something better? Maybe also reassessing the bills, kind of going back to the finances at the beginning, but reassessing your bills, like what's coming in, how much money is going out, what can you realistically afford, looking at your credit card payments, how does that all sort of function, looking at your investments, just all these things. And also, is it a possibility that you have some debt to clear? Looking at those things. And money goals, you know, what are your money goals? Are there things that you wish to strive for? Venus retrograde is a good time to sort of plan that all out and kind of just reflect upon it. But to be fair, I understand that it's all of that really annoying shit that you know you must face one way or another, but you keep putting it off. So by using the Venus retrograde to really reevaluate or re-examine all of these things that I have brought up throughout this video today, maybe you'll come out of the Venus retrograde much more aware of what you want or what you desire in terms of your money, your earning potential, your materials, your physical security, and also your skills and your relationships. And you'll also hopefully become much more aware of how you value yourself along with how you value other people. So speaking of values specifically, I realized, yes, I did not record this part yesterday, but yeah, I wanted to elaborate on value a little bit more here. So I think that the Venus retrograde can also be a good time to truly ponder over what we value about ourselves. So for example, do you value your personality and your attributes? Also, do you value your skills and your talents, as explained at the beginning of this video? And also in terms of do you value the products and the materials that you own, or is it that you have some sort of unhealthy attachment to these products, or is it that you can even be quite whimsical with the things that you buy, where you're, you know, kind of going back to the beginning as well with being sort of irresponsible with your spending habits, etc. Just looking at value in association with these things is also very important as well. Though still, do you value your physical body? So how it moves, how it keeps you alive, how it keeps you thriving. Also, do you value yourself enough to set boundaries and stand up for yourself, or tell others that you feel a particular way about something? So do you value yourself enough to speak up in that regard? So this could be in association with a certain manager at work, or a friend, or a parent, or a spouse, whatever have you. Or is it that you don't feel all that valuable about yourself? So maybe, for example, you have self-deprecating thoughts and opinions, or whereby which you can put yourself down and dumb yourself down even. Or is it that you give into social pressures or into peer pressure quite easily? Or maybe you compare yourself against other people in a very negative light, very, very negative way. Or quite possibly, you perhaps find it difficult to accept who you are without materials and money to sort of do the talking for you. Then again, maybe if you're ever sick or unwell, you start beating yourself up, or maybe you pick at your skin. I tend to do that a lot. I pick at my skin. Or is it that you pull out your body thinking that you wish you were born into a completely different one? Oh yeah, we cannot deny that we can be our own worst inner critics, both in here and in here. And we can also have the tendency of projecting these inner insecurities onto the outside world. But regardless of what you think about yourself or how you feel about yourself, the Venus retrograde can be a good time to re-evaluate these things, so that not only can you be kinder towards yourself, but also towards other people as well. It's just really a time to tune in with your inner world. Remember, the retrogrades are a very internalized energy, whereby which in the case of Venus retrograde here, it's re-examining who you are without constant reassurance, without constant validation from the outside world. And so in a sense, I think it's about really building from within in order to become much more stronger and much more grounded and resilient and present in who you are. And you know, who knows? Who knows? Maybe by cutting yourself some slack, or by recognizing that you are worthy of love and acceptance, or by appreciating that you have something to offer the world regardless of your bank balance or regardless of your social status. Maybe by doing these things, maybe by realizing these things, you'll start to view beauty and harmony in a different light, through a completely different lens. So anyways, Cosmic Warriors, that is the Venus Retrograde Transit. I really just wanted to add that little bit in at the end. But on that note, I want to know your thoughts and opinions. So if you have anything else that you want to add in relation to the Venus Retrograde Transit, definitely comment down below. Let us know. Let's get a discussion going. Give your opinions, give your suggestions, etc. But with all that being said, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for subscribing. And of course, if you would like to see more videos from myself and you have not yet subscribed, then go right ahead and click that subscribe button. Also, make sure you give this video a like, remember. And I will be back with another video very, very soon. Bye!